the British transfer record currently is with Caicedo at Chelsea, 115 million. And I think when it comes to those kind of like statements that clubs make with those big transfers, obviously Erling Haaland when he went to Manchester City, Declan Rice going to Arsenal for 100 million. You know, they felt like big statements. Does this one have that similar feeling to you or not?
Not as big as Haaland.
He's a big player though, you know.
No, he is, because obviously we don't see him week in, week out. We don't really, watch as much of the Premier League, the Bundesliga. But he's making noise. He has been since, Alonso was in the job, and all of a sudden this new number 10, how good he was in lighting up the Bundesliga with Leverkusen. I just, it's not grabbing me. No. Someone said to you like, we're going to sign Florian Wirtz. You're not going, oh yeah, amazing. Yeah. It doesn't grab me like that. But I'm not saying he's not a great player. But there's players out there, like if you said to me, you're going to sign Isak, I'd be like, oh my God, best signing ever. Yeah, of course. I'm all over it, especially for that kind of price tag. So when you tell them about Florian Wirtz, we might sign him, I'm like, okay, yeah, good player. Yeah. Good player, but it's not, if I was a fan of Man City, I'll be like, oh my, yeah, perfect, just what we need.
The systems are important as well, aren't they? I'm sure, Florian Wirtz was, I know he was doing some really special stuff prior to Alonso anyway, but Alonso clearly went into Leverkusen and had a huge impact on a lot of players, not just Florian Wirtz. Some players that he brought from certain teams that you maybe wouldn't say they probably have the ability to go on and achieve what they achieved in that season that they had at Leverkusen. So, sometimes players can kind of hide in those, not hide, but like they can shine more in a system under a certain manager, and that might not again translate in a different system. Is that a bit of a risk as well, do you think?
Well, of course it is. You've seen it with so many players who go, light up the Premier League. Yeah. I'll keep going back to that because it's a good, footing. Like Torres when he went to Chelsea. Yeah. The system, sometimes, it doesn't work. Yeah. So, and you need to be in a good system with the good style of play as well for things really to click and, you shine through that. So it's got to, if he's going to go Man City, if the systems are alike, brilliant. If there's not, he's got to learn a new style of play. Grealish coming from Aston Villa. Yeah. He's not gone to a bad player. He's not all of a sudden being, not as effective as he was for Aston Villa than as Man City. It's about where he's playing, the system, the style, how he can get the ball, what he's got to do when he's got the ball. So there's all those factors that's got.
That's a fair point, actually, because I bet also Jack will be sat there thinking, I want to play in that position. We just heard there from Kevin Hatchard saying that he could play wide, but he can play midfield. He's got those duels stats that seem to be very high over in the Bundesliga, so he can clearly mix it in midfield as well. But Jack I'm pretty sure, I remember when Jack first went to City, and I remember thinking, right, he's going to spend a couple of seasons out on that left, but he'll probably be waiting for like a De Bruyne, a Bernardo Silva to move on and think, I can take one of those kind of like 2-8 positions in this team.
That's what he's doing at Villa.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that's how he shone, and that's how we saw, the amazing things that he's doing. And now he's been kind of shifted on the left and just kind of stayed out there, which is not probably his go-to position. No. So it's all about, like I said, forget Florian Wirtz. He's got to, fit the system, the style. Yeah. And, see how it goes.
There are some rumours that potentially your team, Liverpool, could get themselves into a little bit of a tug of war with Manchester City for the signing of Florian Wirtz. Where do you sit on that?
He's an amazing player.
Oh, right. Here we go.
Florian Wirtz, I've got to do it. Got to make it do it. He's attacking. He's skillful. Correct. No, he's a good. Listen, we do sometimes need a little bit of more oomph in there. We've got Szoboszlai, I think, in that kind of role.
And you got McAllister, and you got Curtis Jones.
Yeah, I think I would rather Florian Wirtz over Curtis Jones.
Really?
Yeah, I think because he's more technically better. I think he's more creativity with him. And sometimes we need that. We can't always rely on your Salah, your Diaz, your Gakpos. But McAllister's a different kind of player. He's not a number 10. He's a hybrid number 10, 8 and 6 in one, where, you get a Florian Wirtz. Like I said, he's a good player.
If you were to spend that kind of money, just before we kind of go to another player that City have been heavily linked with, where would you want that money spent? Surely you wouldn't be wanting to spend it on Florian Wirtz.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, where would it be?
I would like a striker.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
I would like, if you're going to spend 100 million, I would like to go and spend 100 million on a top striker.
You want Isak, basically, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Well, City, as I said, have already been linked. Would also been linked. Sorry, with a move for AC Milan forward Tijani Reijnders. Here's Italian football correspondent Daniel Fischella for the lowdown on the Dutchman.
By far, AC Milan best player this season. Tijani Reijnders has seen his stock improve despite his team has had a poor campaign. The Dutch is for me aesthetically one of the Serie A most beautiful players to watch, and this season has also become more effective with both his shooting and his passing. He's not only a playmaker, but a proper box-to-box man, a player that excels at moving the ball quickly in the final third of the pitch. The defensive phase of his game, though, especially his ability to spot potentially dangerous situations, can be still improved. But AC Milan will be very keen to keep Reijnders as long as they can. That's why his contract has recently been extended to 2030, and his departure would represent a big blow for the Rossoneri. On the other hand, though, Sandro Tonali, another fans' favourite, was also sold only 2 seasons ago for a record-breaking figure.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, clearly City are going to be doing a lot of business in that central midfield area. £60 million is what they're talking about for Reijnders coming from Manchester City. They've also got a lot of interest in Morgan Gibbs-White at Nottingham Forest, which I do not want to see happen. I think I'll clearly say that.
That's a good one.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Because, like I said, you already know he's proven. Premier League. He's doing it at Nottingham Forest. And he's creating a lot. He's scoring. For them, he's a very important player. And it's kind of a player that City are going to be losing in Kevin De Bruyne. A player that gets on the ball, creates it, passing vision's amazing. Yeah. So I think for me, that would be a good signing. That would be a better signing than going Florian Wirtz for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, when you actually start to break down what City have actually got to do this summer, it's actually a bigger job than you think. Because I think if you go through a lot of their team, defensively as well, I know Kyle Walker's out on loan, but they've been playing with
O'Reilly.
Riley at right back and Mateus, at left back, Mateus at right back. So it's like, they probably want to look for a right back, I'm guessing.
Yep.
John Stones has been injured a lot of this season as well. So can they get him fit? You know, the whole kind of thing with Akanji and Ruben Diaz has been a bit of a merry-go-round. I know they brought in Kusanov, but he didn't get off to the best start, and I'm sure he'll have some time. But is there a specific position that you look at with City and go, right, if you are going to get yourselves back next year, because it's been really odd seeing City this year, hasn't it? I think we can both agree on that. Do you think it's a player that can get them back to their best, or do you just think they just need to, I don't know, get back to being City?
They've lost the best defensive midfielder in the world.
Yeah.
If you lose the best player in that position in the world, you're going to feel it. So next season they're going to have him fit.
Yeah.
So they're going to have that main guy in that spot.
Yeah, but who's to blame for that? Because you know what I see, right? The way I've always looked at that is I've gone, why did you buy Calvin Phillips for 50 million quid? He's a defensive midfield player. He was England's player of the season at that European Championships. Then City go and buy him. And you would argue that, you know, what happens in training happens in training. He might not be a good trainer, but essentially somewhere along the line, Pep's gone, you're not my kind of player, I don't fancy you. But if you're spending 50 million quid on a defensive midfield player, surely it's to be kind of like the heir to the throne. We've seen it over the years at City. You know, Fernandinho stepped in, then he stepped aside, then Rodri comes in. Yeah. And I always thought with the Calvin Phillips one, he was just going to be that, let me learn from Rodri, because if something happens, I'm the guy that steps in. So they kind of got themselves to blame anyway, no?
No, a little bit, yeah. And also, you know, in the transfer window, not strengthening in that area.
So they got Gonzalez in.
Yes. Yeah. But again, when I see him play, when I see City play, it doesn't remind me of Rodri. He doesn't think, I can see how they still miss Rodri.
Yeah.
Like I said, it kind of, you know, irreplaceable in that way. So they're going to have him back. And if you talk about where they, I don't think it's, once they get him back, I don't think it's one particular area. I think they need to just freshen that midfield along with Rodri.
Yeah.
And, you know, probably a right back.
Last question on City before we move on. Do you fancy them to come back for the title next year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.